Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with a loud round of applause, Mr. Gideon Adey.
Good morning, thank you very much. Thank you. Good afternoon, indeed. Good afternoon, OAC. This is a presentation about posters, so we've got to have some pictures of posters. Ideally, some sound. Is there sound with this? I have a long history of presentations going on. Good afternoon. Firstly, I've got to say thank you for inviting me here. It's nice to come somewhere cool, get away from the heat in London. Secondly, I've got to make a couple of apologies. That's probably the best part of the presentation. I'm a geek. I'm proud to be a geek. I'm going to talk about data. I'm going to go through an awful lot of charts. I will explain them very quickly. It's going to be quite dull, but it's very important stuff. So I've given you a little video just to make it slightly more interesting to start with. I want to talk about three main things. The fundamentals of a currency. Talking about audience research. What are the fundamental things you need to make a currency work? Major part of it is how audience measurement can and will change the world, with examples of how it's increasing our revenue and how it's increasing the take of the medium as a whole. And then finally, some of the things that lots of people worry about when it comes to audience currency and audience trading. And just a few words summing up on that we don't really need to worry about these things. It doesn't actually change the world that dramatically. The fundamentals of a currency. And there is one thing. There are lots of stuff behind this one thing, but there is one thing that makes a currency work. And that's trust. This is a global currency. It's backed by the 5th largest economy in the world. It has an independent bank, making sure that it doesn't fluctuate too much on the currency markets. It has incredible technology in its printing techniques. The micro-printing within the spectacles means it's very difficult to forge this currency. We trust this currency. We use it daily, buyer and seller. Happy to use this currency. And that's the fundamental of any currency, and it's the same for an audience currency. We have to use multiple stakeholders. This is something that both buyer and seller need to have oversight of, have knowledge of how it's created. They need to be able to see transparently through it so they can actually understand and trust the data behind it. It's got to be an accurate representation of the truth. You can create audience numbers that no one believes and no one will use. It's got to represent reality. And sometimes reality is harsh, but it's got to represent reality in order for clients to trust the data. We need to use advanced technology, advanced methodology, harnessing technology to ensure that we're keeping up to date with the numbers itself. It's got to be accountable. It's got to be transparent. People have to know how you've done it. They've got to be able to unpick it. It needs peer review. And it's got to keep evolving and got to keep expanding. I've got some experience of this in the UK, and I'm going to share those experiences. So how's it going to change the world? Increasing accountability and value to clients. Now, this is out-of-home audience data. This is not mobile audience data. This is not online audience data. And it's really important to remember that out-of-home is consumed in a totally different way to other media. We are a one-to-many. We are a broadcast media. Even a single site is broadcasting its message to a group of people. We're one-to-many. And because of that, when we come to measure, we have to do planning measurement. We're not looking for that return path that you get with Google or Facebook. The return path can be there, but it's not comprehensive. So we can't just put stuff up and see what the results are. We have to know in advance what the results are going to be, and that's where currency comes in. It allows for cross-media evaluation. It allows people like me to develop audience planning and make better decisions, adding value to the medium itself. It allows us to recognize good out-of-home frames and bad out-of-home frames. It allows laterally to make automated decisions. Some people use the programmatic word. I tend to shy away from that a bit because it has other connotations within media. But automated decisions, allowing computers to decide what frames to buy and when. But ultimately, it increases overall investment. I'm going to give you some examples of all of these things. Okay, I've been on the Root methodology geek team before Root started, and occasionally on the Root board as well. So I can tell you a little bit about the UK example. I don't need to tell you a lot about Root, other than as an industry, we saw fit to invest £37 million sterling in this piece of research. Okay, we're a £1 billion industry, and we invest heavily in research because we know it makes a difference and it drives our business forward. It's a GPS survey. It's the largest GPS survey of its kind in the world. It's a joint industry committee, so the buyer as well as the seller funds it, and the buyer as well as the seller constructs it, so that we both know how it's built. It covers all major out-of-home environments in the UK, so that's road, rail, mall, metro, bus, taxi, airport, and supermarkets. We launched the data in 2013. We're on our second contract term with Ipsos Mori and MGE, who I know you are doing some work with here. And we find them very good partners. But we're still learning, we're still evolving, we're still adding to the model. And that's important, never to stay still. Better. Okay. So how does this increase measurement accountability and our value to our clients? Okay, this is a very simple graphic. Things you need to know to get to return on investment are, is the medium working? And then, is the advertising working? And these are different measures. And we have ways of measuring all of these things. We need to know, did the ad play? Did you put the poster up? We need to know who saw it. And that's where I come in, audience measurement. We need to know what their affinity is with the medium itself, what media people are more likely to see, what media they're less likely to see. And once you get all that data, then you can start building on, is the copy good? Is the creative good? Did it have an effect? What's my return on investment? You cannot achieve those other measures without knowing who has seen the campaign. Fundamental, it's the foundation of all measurement. Okay, here's some examples again from the UK. This is a study, or it's a macro study. This is of 1,000 brands advertising in the UK. And we see that brands that don't use above-the-line media score particularly well, fairly well. People that do use above-the-line media push that by a further 15%. And people that use above-the-line media, including out-of-home, pushes a further 23% in all the brand metrics that make a difference. So this is 1,000 UK brands over 2016 to 2018. All the stuff that makes a difference to sales. Am I considering this product? Do I have a high opinion of this product? Would I recommend this product? Am I aware of the advertising? Do I intend to buy this product? And talkability are all driven by out-of-home. But you can't do this kind of measurement without knowing who's seen the campaign, without audience data. It allows for cross-media measurement. And that's important for two things. One, to sell out-of-home, and two, to allow people like me to buy out-of-home knowing where it fits in the media mix. How is this going to drive sales for my clients? By knowing, by measuring out of home, I can see exactly how much time people are spending out there. We know people are out of home. This is stuff that we as out-of-home practitioners know, but the data allows me to demonstrate this, allows me to show this to our clients, allows me to make that value difference between other media. We know that. This is TV and this is out of home. We know that younger people consume more out of home. There's a lot of stuff we know, but I can now prove it, and I can give the data behind that. I can demonstrate the value to my clients that out of home drives younger people. Out of home clearly drives people in work because they're leaving their home. So it drives upscale people. Out of home delivers young, wealthy people. And I can put numbers to that now. I can actually value that against other media. We know that people, this is out of home consumption, this is TV consumption. We know people consume out of home during the day, and people consume TV in the evening. Everyone knows that. But it's that value difference. How much more can I charge? This is when they're working. This is when they're shopping. This is when they're spending money, making decisions. This is when they're sitting on the couch. That value difference, measurement. We can show how out-of-home combines with other media. If I'm buying a national TV campaign, 400 rating TV campaign, and I take a quarter of that money and I reinvest that in out-of-home, I drive, this is TV on its own, OnePlus reach, 77% reach of the UK, take a quarter of that money, reinvest it in out-of-home and TV working together, driving to 89% reach. Again, we know this, but I can demonstrate this. I can prove this to my clients because we've done the research, we've got the data, and I can charge for that incremental increase in their campaign's reach. Behind each of these slides, there's probably another hour's worth of data, but I'll save you from that, because I understand you probably need a caffeine injection before we get into any more depth. What it allows me to do as an audience planner, as a buyer, as someone who's trying to make out-of-home more valuable, is understand how people consume. Not what the poster is, where the poster is, how do people consume? Where do they come from? The audience's geography. What are they going to see? Who sees rail? Who sees roadside? What environments is my audience likely to consume? How can I better plan a campaign? And within those environments, what formats are they going to see? Are they going to see stuff on arterial roads? Are they going to see stuff in city centres? Understanding the audience consumption allows me to buy better, add value to media. Okay, this outdoor, it's got to have a map. Waterloo is probably the largest station in the UK. It serves part of the southeast, or the southwest of London and out into what we call stockbroker belt. Houses out here cost more than they do in London. This is really nice. I don't live here. I'm up here somewhere. But this is a really nice part of the world. Incredibly wealthy people. But there's no posters out here. What I can demonstrate is that these people here consume this site. This is the delivery of Waterloo Station. These people getting on every morning and going into their jobs, then taking the train up to the City of London, I reach them here, understanding geography, understanding people's movements. I can see that rail, this is an index, this is all adult consumption of rail during the week, and this is AB, upscale. I can see that rail is consumed by upscale people. Rail has a good value to us. I can see that during the day, upscale people over-index late, they go home later, they come to work earlier. We know this, but I can demonstrate it, I can measure it, I can value it, and I can charge clients for it. What I'm going to show now is not a video, it's a series of slides that I'm just going to go through very quickly to make it look like a video. I'm not that tech, different kind of tech. Okay, the blobs are route data. This is how many people are in that railway station. How many people are actually being delivered by digital screens within that railway station. The existence of the blob is the people who have bought shares using their telephone. So these are private investors. And we see at 6 in the morning, they're getting onto the rail network in these far-flung places. By 8:30, they're at their desks. It's over. By 7 o'clock, I shouldn't be, if I can just go back one. By 7 o'clock, it's over here. I don't need to be advertising to private investors out here. By 7 o'clock, I should be here. By 8 o'clock, I'm in here, and by 8:30, it's over for me. Now, I can either buy that media and schedule that media to reach that very expensive private investor market, people are actually doing share dealing on their own phones, or I can buy 6 o'clock till 10 o'clock in the morning, and that's exactly what we did for a brand. And during the times that we had a high index of people who did share dealing, we did wealth management adverts, and then after those people had passed through the station, we went back to normal high street banking. Different things on different screens. Having this kind of data allows me and Kinetic to build tools to access this data, to make it easy for all of our staff to access this and to plan this. These are some of the tools that we have. This is just showing a particular audience and how they profile, where they're from, what they consume. It allows us to recognize what's good in out-of-home and what's less good in out-of-home. Classically, buying an all-adult campaign, trying to get broadcast across the whole of the UK, I'll buy 5,000 bus shelters. It's quite a common campaign. And that'll deliver me 930-odd ratings, about 500 million impacts. And I can measure that, which is important. But what I find, what I can show is that the top 2% of the frames are delivering almost 9% of my impacts, and the bottom 2% of the frames are delivering nothing. It's very easy for me to make the campaign more efficient. And if I'm being charged on a per frame basis and a per site basis, I just don't buy these. A wise media owner will charge me more for these, charge me a lot more for these. Good outdoor, delivering good audiences is worth more, and we pay more for it, and clients pay more for it. Understanding audience allows you to charge more for out-of-home media. This is an example of a drinks brand, a soft drinks brand, that we launched a few years ago. So it's a launch. I've got two sets of data here. I've got audience data, who's going to consume this, where do they go, what posts do they see, and I've also got distribution data. Where is the client actually going to be able to stock this product? So I can then take my universe of out-of-home, reduce it down to just the areas where this product can be bought, and then use my audience data to understand which sites to buy within that. We get an increase in purchase intent over the rest of the campaign. We have great ad recall because it's salient, it's relevant, it's in the right place, reaching the right people. And what people pay for, what people buy out of home for, is to sell their products. They want to sell cars or soap powder or soft drinks. We increase their sales. I can only do that because I can decide which sites are best for this client because I've got the audience data. Ultimately, data allows computers to start making decisions, automated decisions. Some people use the programmatic word. And we've built these tools. I don't know if you've seen this in the press earlier this week with a tie-up with a platform. It allows us to either, as people, be advised as to where and what media I should be buying for any particular task or audience or client, how to schedule it during the day for digital, which hours are worth more to me, which are worth less. And ultimately, machines will take over that decision-making. But already, machines are advising us. And the next step, of course, is for people to buy live. But you can't get to programmatic without the data behind it. Verification, and we actually tap into broadtime players, Scala players, so we know when every single ad is played on every single screen in the UK, and that allows us to work out whether our campaign's running. Verification is incredibly important, but knowing that an ad played is not useful. Knowing that an ad is seen is useful. So translating play data to audience data, again, only possible with audience currency that's trusted, allows us to go to our clients and say, yep, it played, and yep, you got the audience. Because that's what they're buying. They're buying eyeballs, not poster sites. Finally, it increases overall investment. Now, this is a case study from 2014, just after the data released, for a film client. Now, film clients are all based in London, and London is full of large red buses. So film clients always buy large red buses for their advertising. They always buy bus sides because that's what they see. That's not what their audience sees, that's what they see going past. We were able to totally throw that. Their core audience, 15 to 34-year-olds, in London see a lot of buses. There are a lot of buses in London. 45% of all UK buses are in London. They see a lot of underground, they see street furniture. But outside of London, they're seeing roadside. We're able to show our client that they consume differently in different cities, and you need a different plan. Heavy cinema goers, these are urbanites. They consume a lot of urban media in London and outside of that. This is me. I'm dad taxi. I'm driving to rugby, I'm driving to football, I'm driving to ballet. I spend my life in the car with the kids. I consume roadside. I'm a Londoner, but I consume roadside. Different types of film need different types of campaigns. Understanding that pushes value for our client. This is a client that's spending £4 million a year in out-of-home. In 2014, they moved to £9 million a year, and they have spent that every year since. They're spending £9 million alone. We were able to increase the ratings nationally by twofold by moving from bus to 6 sheets and billboards, keeping bus in London. And in London, we were able to improve it almost fourfold. But what really matters is, did it sell films? Rentrack is a data source that picks up the amount of money spent per screen, so for every cinema, per screen, per day, live. So I can sit on a Friday night and watch the money coming in as a film rolls out. And this data, I believe, is available here as well. 2 predictors we want to do. One, did the film overperform compared to the States, which is what we call UK versus US box office conversion. Normally you convert about 9%. We pushed that by 44% in the first year. Did the film convert well compared to our predictions, or Pearl and Dean predictions? Yes, we pushed that by 32%. This is a client that trusted us, trusted the data, changed the way they bought outdoor, bought more out of home, consistently buys more out of home ever since, and we're selling more films for them. They want to sell films, they're not buying posters, they're selling films. Data makes a difference. So finally, things we need to worry about. Will this commoditize the medium? Will everything go to clicks and CPT and CPM? No, it won't. A fantastic location in a city centre is still a fantastic location in a city centre. We can measure it, we can understand its effect, but if it's the best site in town, it's still the best site in town. We don't commoditize. Will it drive prices lower? Some prices will go down. Yes, stuff that doesn't work goes down in price. Most stuff goes up in price. We've seen our medium grow because of this. It may change the value exchange slightly. Some things will be worth more, some will go down. Will it drive volumes down? Will people buy less? Yeah. People will buy, per campaign, slightly less. But the value will be greater. They will come back more often. They will spend more overall. Efficiency makes the medium more valuable. Will it reduce the human element? No. And it's something I say often, the best place to advertise a premium car to reach premium car drivers is the back of a bus, because they spend a lot of time stuck behind it. There is no way I'm putting Mercedes on the back of a bus. It is totally the wrong environment. Humans always stay in there. Human opinion will always be important. And will it allow Google to buy us all? I can't tell you that one, sorry. Last words, this is Kelvin, a Northern Irish scientist, invented the Kelvin temperature scale alongside a load of other crazy things. He said that people would never, ever fly. But this thing I do get him on. If you can measure something, you can change it. If you can measure something, you can do something about it. And if you can measure out of home, you can improve out of home. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I am now going to welcome Mr. Anil Hirani, Director, Armor Display Systems, to join us on stage. He's going to come up with the 3 questions. Mr. Gideon Adey is ready to answer them for sure. And everybody, with that energy, connecting with us, what do we say? 3, 2, 1? Much louder. Ooh. All right, thank you so much, gentlemen. All yours.
Thanks, Gideon.
Thank you.
when you said geek, we got all scared, but when I saw the topic audience measurement, I said, yes, we really need it in India. So I'll straight away come to the topic. We have chosen 3 best questions. The first one is from Chitranjan Sahu. The question says, data collection and mining tools require a lot of investments, like the one speaker mentioned, about pound 30 plus million. Individual media owners cannot possibly afford such investments, nor will it be financially prudent. Should there be a community of media owners investing in such projects and sharing with members on a chargeable basis, or typically it is owned by a specialized data mining company? How such models work in mature DOH like France or the UK?
Okay, that's quite a long one. It's quite complex. The short answers are, I agree, yes, and no. But to expand on that slightly, yes, this technology costs money. And we, as the world's largest buyer of out-of-home, we do our own investment. But then competitors of ours will use software from many third parties. And there is a thriving market in audience measurement software or software to access audience measurement data that anyone could do on a very reasonable cost. Inventory management tools and the like are all available. And there are people in this room who market that kind of software. So yes, I mean, I wouldn't suggest you have an industry solution, because the moment you have one solution, it becomes stale. You need to have competition in every market, which is why there are so many of us. But there is already a good competitive market in terms of software to do this. In terms of currency, you only need one. You shouldn't have competition in the data, but in the way you access it.
Okay. So how many such, organizations would be there in the UK who would be doing this? Will it be
Okay,
plenty?
we sell our software to some of our competitors and all the media owners. So there's about 400 users of our software. There is a Telmar system, and they've probably got a couple hundred users. MediaTel offer an API for other people to build front ends on. So there's probably about 7 just on the root data.
Okay.
But globally, in terms of software that can show audience data and how it attaches to inventory, there's probably 30 or 40 good firms out there.
Okay. We'll move on to the second question. It's by Archita Prahladka. In UK, OH has been seeing such amazing campaigns filled with innovation and creativity. Why do you think it has been possible in the UK more than any other countries? Is it because of DOH data measures or just seeing OH differently? Why do you think Indian advertisers are less reactive in doing such campaigns in India?
Okay, I can't comment in great depth on the Indian market, but I can certainly talk about the UK. There's a lot of innovation in the way that people approach out-of-home in the UK, but I see a lot of innovation all over the world. I've just got a video on the UK. And that is partially down to having a fairly consolidated industry on the media owner side, in that we've got people who are big companies and they can invest in the kind of kit that you need for innovation. And partially because we know it works. We've always loved doing the massive ad, the wrapper building, the wow stuff, because it's wow, that's out of home, that's what we do. But to measure it means that people are far more comfortable in spending big money on doing something impressive, because they know it's going to be seen, they know it's going to have an effect.
Okay. The third question is from Abhijit from OAP. Harnessing technology and evolution costs a lot of money periodically. While print never changed methodology, TV hardly changed once. Why is it necessary for OH to continuously evolve? And who should fund such investments?
Ultimately, clients fund the investment, but the initial investment is from the media owner, because the media owner ends up owning the product that they've invested. But they have to make a product that is worth more, and then the client will pay more for that. If you make something that's worth more, people will pay more. But you have to make the initial investment. And the investment must come from private enterprise and from the media owner. As I say, there are things that you can buy in from third parties. And I think this is something that we all need to consider in all industries, is what is it that we compete on? We compete with each other, but what are the elements we compete on? and what are the elements that we don't compete on. We probably all use Microsoft systems. None of us are going off and building a new operating system for our computers because my competitor uses Microsoft. We all use the same electricity and water suppliers. We should all use the same core data. There are lots of things that we don't compete on. The interpretation of that data is where we compete, but the construction of the data originally isn't a place to compete. And it's understanding as a business, what can I do with my competitors that will share the cost? And we can bear that together. And what do I want to do that's just mine? What am I going to compete with them on? What am I not competing with?
Okay, thank you. So with these 3 questions, you have to pick the best.
That's very difficult, actually. I think it's actually probably the first one, although a very long question, so it's not just for word count.
Okay.
But yes, the first question I think is most comprehensive. Thank you.
So it is Chitranjan Sahu from Pionera Technology. Does he pick the second one?
There's a huge check. Help with this.
He got the second prize.
Wow, congratulations.
Oh, right, okay.
You're making a practice of this, aren't you? Getting into the habit of winning these checks. Congratulations from...
You should be writing
We
the
want to say a
questions
big
well.
thank you to
Yeah.
Alak Advertising and Publicity for making this check possible. Today, the 27th of July, 2019, another check on stage. And Mr. Sahu is one happy man.